Yeah, but it's good. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Like a few months, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Months. Since last year, and I don't think I've seen you this year.
Probably since last year. Definitely like last calendar year.
Yeah. Not like 12 months.
Yeah. For the listener, viewer, Mia is a very funny comic. She also is a person I dog sit for sometimes. Yeah. Mia has a very crazy labradoodle, golden doodle, Wheaton doodle.
Wheaton, yeah, he's a hoodle.
Yeah, a hoodle named Bobka.
That's cool.
And I remember one time I was walking Bobka, and he just started barking at this guy. Do you want to talk about him?
Well, if there's anything that's a liability, we can't say it on.
He didn't do anything illegal.
Okay.
No.
Just saying.
No. He just started barking a lot and like jumping around, and then this guy at a food truck goes, "Yo, what type of pit bull is that?" It's just
that's a fair question.
So funny.
Yeah. He's an eccentric guy, and very few people can like vibe with it.
Yeah.
So like I don't have like a ton of people that can care for him. So it's like you and there's like 2 other comics. It's all comics.
Yeah.
I think those are the only people that can handle it.
Those are the only people that have the free time for it.
Yeah. Well, but that's helpful too, because he's not like, he can't, I won't board him. Mm-hmm. So he'll never be boarded. And he kind of, we tried like a little bit with like him going other places, like people who could like babysit him, but like he gets freaked out in new environments. So it's all people who are able to come to the house, who have a lot of free time and like can vibe with like a real manic dog.
Yeah, and he really does not. It's funny because he's like, so when you're just at home, nobody's coming or going, he's like perfect. Yeah. He's like the best dog ever.
Yep.
But he does not like when I remember you described it as like an adorable hostage situation.
Yeah. He doesn't like it when although I will say through an enormous amount of work over like the past 18 months, he's really doing well.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like major intervention.
Yeah.
But he's like doing really well. Like I left today and he sat on the couch. He stayed on the couch. He didn't like freak out. I have like a system that I'm going through. He's been really good about like not freaking out at people. He still has some things he can't hang with. Yeah. But it's fine. It's not perfect. But he's like really made some strides. I think you'd be really proud of him.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, I hope to see him again soon. Yeah.
I may or may not have road dates, so I will.
Okay. Well, that would be perfect. Yeah. So I feel like, we've mainly through me dog sitting for you, we've got to know each other a little bit, but I thought it'd be fun to have you on the podcast because I feel like you're still somebody that I'm like, I don't know you super well.
Yeah.
And it's
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like to get to know you better. It's so you how when did you start comedy?
So I started less than 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that that'd be very surprising from watching you do stand up or seeing the amount of festivals that you've been on. As quite impressive. But you were a musician before that, right?
Yeah. So I was a professional musician for a long time. So like I guess I came to New York in 2008 specifically for that, and then did that until I guess I started in 2022 in comedy. So the pandemic slowed music down and then kind of stopped it completely. But up until the pandemic, I was a musician. So
what made you switch from music to comedy? Are you still doing music at all?
No, and that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing. So it wasn't like a purposeful switch. So basically I had been doing music aggressively for a long, just sort of like, hustling for many, many years. And then I put out my last album in August of 2019. Mm-hmm. And then I went on tour.
It was right when I moved here.
Oh, okay, yeah. And you moved at like a great time.
Perfect time to move to a new city.
So I went on tour, and then I came back and was like, I'm super burned out. So I'd been like really sort of single, like laser focused on music since I started when I was like 13. That was like, and that's all I wanted to do. That was all, everything that I put all my efforts and energy into. So I was like, I haven't had a break in like a very long time. I'm just gonna take a break. Take a few months off music, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then spring of 2020 happened and like game over, right? No venues, no touring. Everybody's like doing weird stuff. People were like putting out like weird synth pop on SoundCloud. And I was like, everyone's losing their goddamn minds because of the pandemic. And it just kind of like shifted my brain a little bit, which is like probably like apocalypse brain. Like,
Yeah.
I think we all just kind of had like, it was like panic mode. So I didn't really do any art. Like I stopped doing music. I didn't really see an avenue for it because I couldn't get out and play. And that's like the thing I was used to doing. I was used to making albums, playing live. That was, I wasn't doing like social media.
Yeah.
Weird. Like that just kind of like wasn't a thing. Like when I was doing music, you would just like sort of put your dates online and then people would like come to your shows. Like it wasn't what I think it is now, like what people are doing now. But I didn't have an intention to stop. It just kind of ground to a halt. And then I just sort of like everybody was just like, okay, well, I have to kind of survive or get through this or like whatever. So I stopped doing art completely. And then in 2022, a friend of mine, I've always loved comedy. Like I've always been a big like comedy nerd, obsessed with comedy, but it was always for somebody else. Like, oh, that's for someone else to do. And I just like, it wasn't something I ever intended on doing. And a friend of mine was like, oh, you should do this comedy class. I'm doing a comedy class. And I was like, okay, like I have nothing else to do. I've been inside for, 2 years. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll do this thing. It'll like get me out of the house. I'll do it once live because that's required. And then I'm never doing this again. And that's not what happened. So I like did the thing. I liked it. I got on stage once. I was the whole time I was like on my way. I was going to cancel. I was like, oh, I'm just going to say I have COVID. I'm going to say whatever. Like I'm going to get out of this. I'm not doing this. And even up until like I was next to go, I was like, oh, I'll just leave. Like no one cares. I'll just leave. I'm not doing this. And then I was like, I like had to go up and do it. And then it was awesome. It was like you
just got hooked immediately.
Yeah. Well, and also my teacher, and then there was another person there who afterwards was like, oh, you should come do club spots. And so I started doing, I don't know if I should name, I guess I could probably name, that's like not a problem, but it's like, it's kind of where everyone sort of starts.
No one's going to listen to this.
Well, I don't know,
Yeah. What's his name? Rich from Broadway. He's going to listen to this.
Well, I don't know what their like normal, the thing that's tough is like, you never know what people's like, what the systems they like to say are to get in places. And so I think sometimes if you're like, well, I just kind of got in the back door or I got in because someone was like, oh, go, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can kind of like, people don't love that because they're like, no, our way in is different or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But I started getting in there and then started performing there and then was able to kind of pick up other like shows. So so I just kind of started, I would sort of go and then I'd always be like, okay, this is probably the last time I'm going to do this. And then someone would be like, oh, you got to go do this. And so I was like, okay, I'll go do that. Like it was for about 6 months. I felt like I just kind of started getting like dragged around and then being like, okay, I guess I'll try that or I'll try that. But in my mind, I was like, but that's it. Like people are going to stop asking me to do stuff. And then sort of before I realized it, I was like, oh, I'm doing this like every night. And like, it's not stopping and I like it. And I'm like, feel like I'm in it now, but it was not intentional. I just sort of like got swept out. And then once I was like, oh, I want to be in this, I had like a plan. Like I started applying for stuff. I started reaching out to people. I started auditioning for things and it was more purposeful. But I definitely like wasn't someone who was like, I don't know, that was my dream in high school. And then I moved to New York and I did open mics for years and years. I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
So, but I also started a lot older than most people.
How old are you?
41.
Oh, okay. That is much older than I thought.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. How old do most people think you are?
Well, I don't know because it's hard to trust when people say
Sure, because everybody's like, oh, you look 19.
Yes, I have had people say like a weird number. There was a story I told on our podcast, the podcast I have, where I was with these other young comics and they were all going out after a show and they didn't have ID. And they were like, do you have ID? And I was like, fuck you. Like, come on. Like, that's not, But so maybe that's worked to my advantage or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess those are the two things that surprised me most. I think when I met you, that you were older than I thought.
Sure.
And you started comedy later than I thought.
Yeah.
And you're married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been married for like a long time.
So you were married like through that. That's also another interesting thing. Not only that you started comedy a little bit later than most people do, but that you also started it kind of, being married and already having a dog and like just having like more of like a settled life. And so the music, you were doing music like full time professionally. And what kind of music were you making?
So it's my bandmate who is now my podcast co-host. Reminded me there was a review that came out where, because I always struggled to kind of.
Was it solo or it was a band that?
So he and I. It was when I first moved to New York. I was in a band. It was a different band, And then I branched out and started doing my own stuff, but I started working with Quincy Ledbetter, who is a filmmaker, but he's a music producer as well. And he was just producing my stuff at that time. So it was, all my solo music. And then I was like, well, we're going to have to play this live. And like, I can't play all these instruments live. So like, you should just start playing live with me. And so that's kind of, at first he was like, okay, I'll just do live shows. And then I was like, you should probably just write music with me. And so like I kind of roped him in. And so then it was just the two of us. Now we had people that would come on stage with us, but it was the music that we had written. So it was never like, we never sort of released it back to like, okay, we're going to get a bass player, we're going to get a drummer. Like we had a drummer who would tour with us, who was great. But it was always the drum tracks that, we created.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, it's interesting that like during lockdown that you stopped doing music and started doing comedy. Because to me, it seems like music would be such an easier thing to continue to do. Where like comedy, it's like, because I was kind of that person that I wanted to do stand-up for. I did want to do music at first, but that was like when I was in high school. And then once I started doing stand-up in college, and then it kind of was just so focused on that, immediately moved here right after graduating. And then, 6 months later, then COVID happens, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck do I do now? Yeah. And so, having that outlet gone, I was writing a little bit during that time, but it's interesting because music seems like a thing where it's like, okay, you can just keep making music, but it seems like you didn't have that motivation if you weren't able to perform it. Yeah,
I really didn't. I also think it was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling it a little bit now where like, I do think that there is like when things are bad, like the world feels bad, it's really hard to like create, at least for me. I think for some people, not at all, right? As evidenced by like the entire world of art that we have generally from things being bad. But at that time, it was like, I literally, the art part of my brain clicked off. Because what I always used to do for writing music, which I don't think is much different than writing a joke or a book or painting something, is I hear it. So I'll just be like, minding my own damn business, and then I will hear music. And so what I would always go do is then write the music that I would hear. So I would always kind of wait until I heard it, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, I have something to write. It was never like, like a Bob Dylan thing where I'd like see a news story and be like, I have to get the story out. Like that wasn't, I would have to audibly.
I wonder if he even really had that. Because I know that, like, I saw the movie. I liked it. I love Bob Dylan. But, like, that I feel like that's such a classic thing in, like, biopics of, like it's like, he's like, Bob Dylan, times, they're changing. Yeah, the times, they are changing.
It's a good Dylan.
It's like, it's like, I always wonder if anybody's, I mean, obviously, clearly some people are wired like that. And I mean, I guess I am somebody where like I do try to make a lot of comedy out of things that are like painful for me in my life. Even like going through a breakup right now, I've only gotten on stage a few times. It's still very fresh. They've all been pretty great sets to be honest. And it's just been talking about it. And, and I remember even talking on your podcast, it was like when I did it, it was kind of shortly after October 7th, and you were like asking me what I was writing jokes about. I was like, well, I do have a good amount of Israel-Palestine stuff, so I think for me, it's kind of like it's just that's the only way. It's the only way I can I not necessarily like make sense of things, but I'm like it's the only really way I can like cope with things happening is it's just like if I can, and I even thought that literally when I'm going through the breakup, like while we're having that conversation, I'm like, if I can make this funny, I'll be okay. Yeah. Like, and it's just like knowing that, but I don't, yeah. So what kind, what genre would you classify the music that you were making as?
So the thing was, Quincy reminded me, he was like, well, we had a review one time and they referred to us as cinematic rock. And I was like, I like that. Because it was always, like, it would be like, it's rock, but it's electronic. And then it was, I started folk. I started out like solo folk, and it took a right turn pretty quickly. Yeah. And then it was like, well, it's very noir.
Were people as upset when you went electric as they were with Dylan?
They were not. That's hysterical. No one had any opinions on it.
Judas.
Exactly.
Nobody calls you Judas.
I didn't betray anyone. Although, did I have, no, we kept fans. We kept fans. Yeah. I was trying to think, like, were any of the, like, because I had like a fun kind of queer fan base. Because one of the first reviews that had come out for my solo album was in Autostraddle, which at the time was like a haven for like queer women.
Yeah.
And it was like an online, it's like the high days of like Jezebel and these online sort of news blogs and whatever.
I feel like I feel like a lot of the queer comics, the younger like queer comics that I know, like write for Autostraddle, have been like featured in
Lives.
it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. But that really got a lot of sort of like within the queer community in New York, like a lot of people out to shows and stuff like that. But it was definitely like a different vibe after it was like a acoustic, solo, folky kind of thing to this like more electronic thing. I think because I was always the lyricist, it never really lost the voice of it. We just sort of like added different layers of music. But I would say, cinematic rock. I think that I'm comfortable with that.
I guess I think of, if you say cinematic rock, I think of like Radiohead as being, which I know that you and Quincy are both fans of. It's also funny, that I feel like I know more about you from just having like stayed in your apartment to watch Bob, where I'm just like, hysterical. Not from even talking, just being like, all right, these are the books that she reads and these are the records. And it's also, it's like so fun just being able to tell like which is yours and which is your husband's.
Not that hard. Not hard. The number of Torahs that we have in our apartment is, I'm sure, will be made illegal soon. I'm sure we won't pass like inspection on those. But yeah, it's an interesting collection. Although his music collection, he's always had just a fantastic ear for music, and he's like very like, he was definitely like, I think he had a radio show in college too. He was like one of those people, like those like indie, knew everything, knew all the bands. So I definitely was put onto a lot of stuff from him.
And how did you guys meet? You're actually the second guest on this podcast to be married to a rabbi.
Wait, did you interview Liz?
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah, there you are. I was like, I know all two of them. So he and I met. He and I both liked the same girl, and she did not like either of us. It was a person that I met in graduate school, and she went to college with him, and we like were both big fans, and not interested in either. And then she had a birthday party. I remember she had like a birthday party, and I was like, I'm gonna go to this birthday party. I knew no one, which is not where I shine, by any means. And I showed up in, just the saddest outfit. The thirstiest, saddest outfit I think I've ever managed to put on my body. It was also like, 2009 at that point, right? So it's like 2009 fashion. And then I showed up. I didn't know anyone. He was so nice. He was just like nice and friendly. And not to say like her other friends weren't, but like they were not. Yeah. And so I started kind of seeing him at like those get-togethers when I would like go to her apartment, or she would have like, whatever. And then that's how I met him. It was just like through friends. And he was really nice and interesting, like initially. And then we kind of met, I feel like it was like we got in like right under the buzzer for when everyone started meeting online.
Oh, yeah? Yeah,
so like we met in the wild with references through friends. And then I feel like it was like the next day, everyone was like, nope, we moved it online. So I never had to do any of that. I don't know how a dating app works. I don't
really either. I've never really used
terrible.
Them. I don't. I like meeting people in person a lot. That's a very cute story.
It's a cute story.
That's adorable. It's you guys both. You got friend zoned by the same person. Uh-huh. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And I was like, and that was. Let's see, we've been married for 13 years, so that was about 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's like one of the silliest things that I've done, which is I feel like I got married young, which is like not typical. I don't feel like it suits the rest of my. I was 28. Yeah. Which is like a normal from where I'm from. A lot of people.
If you're in New York, that's old. Yeah, but in in New York, that's young. Most places, that's like old or normal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, that like no one batted an eye. A lot of people from my like high school and stuff got married right out of college. That was normal. Most people like finished college and then got married. But I now looking back, I'm like, I was a child bride. We both were. Who let this happen? But
is he the same age as you?
He is like a few months younger. So I was born end of October, and then he is end of February. So what's that? 3, 6, 5 months?
Yeah. 4 months.
Is that 4 months?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But
cool.
That's very cute. And how is it being married to a rabbi? What's that like?
It's normal. A lot of people ask. It's interesting because I think you grew up Jewish.
Yeah.
So I think like people who grew up Jewish, their questions about it are like a little bit more grounded, because like you were around rabbis. So you knew like, oh, rabbis had families, rabbis would show up, they were like normal. Some semblance of. Yeah. They were a part of the community. For people that are not Jewish, I think they think it's like some weird like taboo thing. Where, because like the number one question I get is people will be like, oh, like are rabbis allowed to get married?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, yeah, but they just like don't know. So it like feels weird, I think, for them. Or they expect him to be like a cleric or like some sort of like weird thing.
Yeah, that's especially, I feel like for like Catholics or whatever, they're like, they're allowed to do that?
Yeah.
It's for the listener, there's just some kids staring at us right now.
Kids are fun. No, those are adult men.
Those are adults?
Those are adult men.
Yeah. The studio has a window that just faces outside. So that's not the first time that's happened.
That's fine.
But yeah, sorry, I got a little distracted there.
But yeah, so I think for people who grew up Jewish, it's kind of like, oh, like, is he like a socially normal thing? But they're not confused that a rabbi would have like a family or friends or like whatever. Yeah. And then people who aren't Jewish, I think the assumption is that I have like transgressed and it's like someone was defrocked or something for me to marry him. And then I have to be like, no, like.
How many chickens did they give up?
Yeah, like it's something. Yeah. And then he has like a big beard and he sort of, like he has a totally moderate beard. But yeah. So it's normal.
Yeah.
It feels very normal. And although, I mean, the one thing that is like, you kind of got to get used to is like, I'll come back from whatever and I'll be like, oh, like this happened, or I was thinking this, or blah, 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 blah. And it's never fail. He'll be like, the Talmud has a thing. And you just kind of be like, okay, because it's like his interest. So you don't want to be like, can you just stop with the Talmud? So you have to know.
It's fun. I'm just imagining you like quoting like a John Mulaney bit, and he's like, "Yes, that's a lot like this passage in the Talmud." Like,
that is like 100% it. And he'll be like, and he like gets it. He's like, "Okay, you're gonna," but like really, it's and then he'll try to sell it to me. But yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's a very obviously he's like a socially very like justice activated like kind of person, and so like I think that's actually more of a like a thing to kind of not get used to, but have to work around. Like we have like things where like really serious conversations where he'll be like, okay, there's this thing I want to go do. And I'll be like, okay, but I have a show in Baltimore. And he's like, oh, okay, I can't get arrested then. Yeah. So I won't be able to do this one. Are you around next week? And I'm like, yeah, I'm around next week. He's like, okay, so I could get arrested to that one. And then we make sure the dog has a babysitter. Like there's a lot of those conversations.
Yeah. Cause that's one thing that I know about a lot of rabbis, or like the good ones.
Love getting arrested.
They,
love a good arrest.
They're very moral people.
Yes, he really is. Yeah,
and that's interesting. You kind of deal with like and
it's all about the dog. It's like, well, if you get arrested and I'm out of town, he's going to take care of the dog, and he's like, all right, I got to go to the next one then.
Yeah, that's so funny. You gotta get a dog sitter because he's like, I'm gonna be arrested that weekend. Like,
literally, that is 100%. It's just something you got to work around. So that feels more on brand for him than having to be like, oh, the high holidays are coming up and like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we have to move around that.
And so, I want to get back to music because I'm so interested in, in your past as a musician. What artists inspired you when you were growing up? Like who'd you see and you went like, I want to be like that?
So I'm going to tell you who it is. I'm not ashamed of this.
Yeah.
And I'm 100. But so there's a difference between, I think there's like two motivators. There were people who I listened to whose music I wanted to emulate. Yeah. Like it was like, how do they make those sounds? How do we do this? And then there are people I saw that were influential because I didn't realize that you could be a musician. And like those people, but I didn't necessarily emulate their music. So I'll do whatever. I don't think it's that embarrassing. I was just watching TikToks of them on the way here. But for sound, I remember growing up, my parents listened to a lot of Beatles. They listened to a lot of Roxy music, which was like 70s, 80s, very like kind of cutting edge, sort of avant-garde kind of, but still like popular. Highly recommend Roxy music. So I remember listening to a lot of that. I remember looking at their album covers, specifically the one of the like Roxy music, being like, this is art, like just kind of like.
That's a band?
Yeah.
Roxy music.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then my parents were really into Tori Amos.
Okay.
So that was like in terms of like lyricists, like one of the first lyricists. I remember listening to a full album. They loved Sarah McLachlan. Like that was very much of the time. But it was kind of the first time where I was like listening to lyrics and being like, okay, lyrics are important to the sound, but also like, how are they getting these sounds out of this instrument? Like, how is this all coming together? Like, it still felt very like magic, like alchemy. Like it's impossible for a person to do. So I loved that. My big sister influenced me a lot. So then I started listening to like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam. I heard Radiohead for the first time from my sister. So that was like all sonically very interesting and seemed like really like inspiring. My freshman year of high school, the last day of my freshman year, a bunch of my friends had gotten tickets to see the Dave Matthews Band. And we had like, faux hippie culture was like a big thing. So we like...
This is like Chicago suburbs,
yes.
right? Yeah.
So it's suburban culture, wearing tie-dye shirts, like looking at pictures of your parents, back in like the 70s and being like, oh, whatever. So it was like, it's like a derivative culture, but it was very much like part of the suburban kind of milieu. So I went to this Dave Matthews Band concert and it changed the course of my life. First of all, I had never seen musicians on stage making the music that sounds exactly like the album. I think I still thought of albums as like, yeah, but like there's a trick in there. Like no one can actually, like it's, how do you do all that and make it sound good together? So seeing them, like seeing a live band like that, it like changed my brain chemistry where I was like, oh, I'm going to do that because those are just dudes.
Yeah.
And they're doing this. So like, I'm going to do that. And I went home that night. We had guitars around. I locked myself in my room for the entire summer and I taught myself how to play guitar. And that was, I think I was 13. And so I was like, I'm going to be a professional musician because I saw the Dave Matthews. And I was like, in high school, we were all like big fans of the jam bands were like a thing. So that was very inspirational. I never wanted to write music that sounded like it, but the fact that they did it was proof that I could do it. And so that was like super influential. And then I liked their music, but I would say influence-wise, sonically, Radiohead, Tori Amos, a lot of like rock, like harder rock that I wanted to kind of distill that sort of grit from, but not necessarily have like wall of sound kind of stuff coming through.
Were you feeling like a lot of like suburban angst?
Did I feel that's a good question. Did I feel suburban angst? I must have, because I got out of there.
Yeah.
I moved very far away. Most people in my high school like stayed pretty close. But there wasn't anything wrong with the place I grew up. But I think I knew that like, but there's a whole world out there and like you can't just stay here. It was also like cushy.
Yeah.
It's a comfortable place. Now when I go back, I'm like, this place rules. There's like 4 Costcos. This is great. Like there's no traffic. Like this is phenomenal. But it must have been angst because I wanted to be out on my own and I didn't want to be in the place where I was from. And so I moved a lot of places and like lived, I went to college far away. Then I moved overseas for a number of years. And I came back and I moved to New York right away. Like I wanted to be elsewhere.
So where'd you go to college?
James Madison in Virginia.
Okay. Yeah. And did you study music there?
No. So I started as a pre-med because I thought that was something I was like, I could be a doctor. My parents are physicians. And so I was like, yeah, let me just be someone's doctor. And then I was like, I shouldn't be anybody's doctor. But I liked the subjects. And then one summer I had like a mandatory art history class I had to take. And I had taken a theater class. And then I was like, nope, it's art. Like I'm going to study art forever.
Yeah.
So I double majored in art history and theater after I changed my major from pre-med and decided like, should not be a doctor. And I think that was the right choice.
And then you went to grad school after that?
I went to grad school at NYU for performance studies. So then it was like still studying like theory of performance and theory of art. And that's where I started studying more like political art and like theory behind political art.
And where did you live overseas?
I lived in Namibia.
Wow. What did you do there?
So I started there. I was supposed to be there for 2 months. And I was supposed to be like fixing a computer lab, basically, like teaching computers and like fixing this computer lab that was donated by like a pretty well-known philanthropist who like turns out was like kind of just like dumping stuff places and then like not sending support.
Sure.
So there were like a lot of volunteers that would go and sort of help, make these things work. And then I loved it. And I just didn't want to leave. I think it was like, I just want to be somewhere else. And so I stayed until they stopped renewing my visa. So I stayed for a little over 2 years. And then they were like, you have to leave though. Like,
And then you came to New York after that?
And then I came to New York for grad school.
And then you've been here
ever since. Yeah. And grad school was like the grounding to do music. So I was like, I'm in school. It allowed me to like build a band. It allowed me to start making music. And then it allowed me to start touring from coming here. But my bandmate was already living here. Not Quincy. So it was a different bandmate. Yeah. And he was already living here. So the plan was always to kind of come up here and do music with him. I'd met him in college. And he was already like linked up with a lot of musicians here, specifically like Lower East Side. Like this is always like a familiar. It's tough. I walk around. I'm like, fuck, I remember this. And it was all down here.
Did you live here in Lower East Side?
No. I always lived in Brooklyn.
Always in Brooklyn.
What
neighborhoods?
Okay, so Lefferts Gardens for many years, then Gowanus, then Park Slope, and now Kensington.
Wow.
In a little bit. Yeah. I stayed in Lefferts Gardens for it was my grad school apartment. I stayed there until literally it was crumbling down around me and I had to leave.
I think that's part of like what makes you interesting as a comic is just how much actual like life experience you have. Just like hearing all that, because like so many people they're just like me, where it's like, we just like want to do comedy as like teenagers and then like start when we're 20, and it's just like obviously I have life experience, I do, but I think that there is something about where like you've taken. Like, you were pre-med and then you studied art history and then you were a touring musician and now you're doing comedy and you have like an actual like day job on top of that. And, so it's just like having these actual life experiences where it feels like, I think so many people are like afraid to try different things. And it seems like you haven't had that.
It's not, I've definitely been afraid. I've been afraid to try all kinds of stuff. I think, I don't know. It's like it's like they're like, don't touch a hot stove. And you're like, I gotta touch it though.
Yeah.
I know this is, but I just gotta see why everyone says don't do it. Like, I feel like it's like, I just have to go do the thing. I don't know why, but I just have to like try and I have to do it. So I think that was like an impulse. I also get very like laser focused on stuff. Always have since I was like a kid. Because prior to, that's when I was growing up, I was really into ballet. Like I trained very intensely and I thought I'm going to be a ballerina. Like, it was all I thought about. I ate, breathed, slept ballet. I would leave school early. I would do all these. I mean, it was just like so intense about ballet. And then my DNA was like, LOL, you're going to be 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
So that's not going to work. But I was obsessed with it. So I think I always kind of have that like focus so that I was like all encompassing. So it's like music was all encompassing. School was all encompassing. Comedy's becoming all encompassing. Like it's like I have to like dive into the deep end. Otherwise you just kind of feel untethered or something, I guess.
Did you ever play basketball?
Yeah. I'm not great at it.
Yeah, but how tall are you?
6 feet.
You're 6 feet tall. Yeah, I'm just imagining that probably every basketball coach ever was like, why aren't you on the team?
I have a little bit of aggression in team sports.
Yeah.
Where it was not conducive to collegial sportsmanship.
Oh yeah.
Volleyball was good because I had a physical barrier between me and the other team. And I just like, my heart wasn't in it. And I just like wasn't, my dad was always like, oh, you should pass it. He was like really pushing sports.
Yeah.
My little brother was playing D1 ball for a bit and was like obsessed with it since he was a kid. So I have 2 very tall brothers and one of them went the basketball route. So they finally got one.
I can relate to the aggression for sure. You're talking to the record holder for the Harrisburg JCC most technical fouls in both a season and a career. So no one has, as far as I know, the record has not been broken. I think it's still standing 10 years later.
Wait, so is if you hold that record for the JCC, is that technically anti-Semitism? If you were just like going after other Jewish kids?
No. We didn't play against other Jewish kids.
Oh, the JCC?
Yeah, so we played in like a CYO, like a Christian youth league. So we played against we played against Catholic schools.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. I got kicked out of a game and then suspended for the entire season my junior year.
What did you do?
This kid was like saying like anti-Semitic stuff. He was like, fuck these Jews. And then he was like shoving me and like... we were like, the refs weren't calling anything, but we were like kind of going at each other the whole game. And they got to like in the fourth quarter, I'm boxing him out for a rebound, and I just intentionally like hit him with an elbow. Okay. And then he pushes me. I push him back. He punches me. I punch him back. It's like a real
like a
fight.
Brawl, yeah.
And then the craziest part is they ended the game. I mean, clearly the refs had no idea what they were doing because it's like, you don't end the game. You kick those players out. Those 2 players get ejected. And then I think it was, I think that I probably wouldn't have gotten suspended for the entire season if the game hadn't been called, because it just makes it look so much worse.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you ruined our game.
Yes. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Oh my God. And
this was the ones you don't expect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get people telling me like, "Oh, you seem so chill. You're so mild mannered all the time." Like,
ask the Catholics.
There's so much anger in me.
That's a fun thing when you learn that about people.
I've learned that about a lot of comics, especially doing this podcast. It's a fun thing to learn about, like, because you obviously, you see people doing stand up and like you realize like, oh, I have this in common with this person, but then it's like there's so many things that you're not even talking about you don't even know that you have in common with
100%.
somebody.
Yeah. I think that's comedy is an interesting, because it's like you start to find where people's anger is, and sometimes it's because they disclose it on stage, so it's like part of it, and sometimes it's just seeing them exist, seeing them work, and you're like, ooh, that's in there somewhere.
Because it's even like you got people like there's somebody like Bill Burr where it's like he's an angry guy,
sure,
but he uses clearly comedy's an outlet for that. And then there's where I don't think that I come off as like an angry guy on stage at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, I think so. It's
like just the opposite.
Yeah, and because I don't think, because I'm not funny when I'm angry.
Sure. Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think about that with the stuff we were talking about, where it's like you have like tragedy or stuff that you're working through. I'm not funny when I'm going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I applaud people who can do, like, when the last conversation we had for the podcast, we were talking about, politics and stuff. And it was like, and you're able to use that as a coping mechanism, or what you're going through, or talking about your brother, like you're able to to not manipulate it, but like transmute it into, and if I'm going through it, I don't find anything funny in it. I can't find anything funny in it.
Yeah, it definitely, I think it took me some time. I mean, I definitely like talking about my brother on stage was something that I think I tried for the first time like early on, maybe like a year or two into stand up.
Okay.
And it just didn't really work. And then it was like in the last couple of years, it's a thing that I've kind of like figured out how to talk about on stage, because especially, when you're just doing it at mics and 3-minute sets, it's so you have to. It's so hard to like talk about it without just you just see people going like, oh,
right,
like, and that's the worst, and that's always, I think that's the biggest fear with talking about anything like raw or emotional on stage, is like, if it's not funny, it's just sad.
And they can't get to a place where they can find it funny, or they're not gonna, it feels inappropriate for them to like find the humor in it. Yeah, you need more of an on-ramp for stuff like that.
Yeah, because Daniel Sloss has a special where he about his sister dying, and there's a point in it where like the audience gets sad when he reveals that his sister died, and he's like, yeah, like that's how I felt when it happened. Like, I understand that you don't think this is funny, because I didn't think it was funny when it happened. Like, this is the appropriate reaction, what you're having right now.
Right.
So what do you find funny? What do you like making jokes about, or like what inspires you to write jokes?
So I mean, I love silly stuff in general. I do love just like a little like, little brief like respites of silliness. I love hypocrisy. I think absurdity and hypocrisy for me are deeply funny, because it requires a certain amount of commitment to make those things happen. Like, people who are deeply committed in the wrong direction is very funny to me. So I love absurdity. I talk a lot about, because it's also just sort of like existence. So I talk a lot about absurdity or hypocrisy in gender, because those things, the scaffolding of absurdity that require them to be upheld is like, come on, like this is insane, right? We're all, and I find that deeply funny. So I find a lot of humor in that. I think things like socially, I think a lot of like social stratification requires an adherence to absurdity and idiocy that is funny. Obviously, like, the results aren't often funny, and they're usually worth like skewering, but us all as a society committing to our worst impulses is funny. And I like that stuff. And I think that, you kind of have to figure out how to get people, because sometimes people don't think that stuff is funny at all.
Sure,
and so you gotta like, I've learned some topics require a lot of like legwork to get people going on that. But I think those are my favorite things. My favorite thing, and when it happens, it's it is what I love more than anything on earth, which is when you make people feel safe, like an audience, and you're like, just like one of them, and you make them feel safe, and you like get them, and then you kick them off a cliff. It's my favorite thing in the world because you can feel people let their guards down, like in a club particularly. Like you can feel everyone being like, yeah, you're like me. And you're like, absolutely not, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And I love it because they're surprised. And it's sort of, it usually just like they let their guard down and then they start to see the inane or just like, the inaneness of what we're talking about. And then you just kind of knock them off the cliff. And then they usually appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite moment. It doesn't always work, but it is what I'm always trying to do, which is just establish false goodwill and then point out the absurdity in how you exist or how we all exist.
That is great. I also love the opposite, where like, which is one thing that I think that like Bill Burr and Chris Rock are two of my favorite comics, and I think do this so well, where it's like, they'll give you like a premise that you're like, I don't agree with that at all. Sure. And then by the end of the joke, you're like, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me. Yeah. And
absolutely. Those moments I think are just like, it's great. And it doesn't have to be like a high stakes thing.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I think both of them deal with high stakes things often, but also they deal with the trivial and the mundane. And I think especially getting like very worked up over the mundane is often very funny.
That's where some of the best comedy comes from. Yeah.
I definitely am not someone who is like, we're not doing like a master class on thought. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, I feel like there's like and like some people do a great job. There are a number of comics that are just exceptionally well suited to do this, but you're not, if you like, I don't know, like we're not solving big issues.
Sure. Yeah.
When I'm on stage. Because I wouldn't be on stage if I could solve big issues.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be fixing that shit. But I think there are people who like kind of take on, and look, I think it doesn't work more often than I see it work. I think it is a special type of intellect that is able to like really do this stuff. I think there is like a move, maybe it's a New York thing. I don't know if I see this everywhere. I definitely see this in LA, which is this sort of like guy who's thinking right. Do you know what I mean? Where he's like you guys got it wrong, and it's like everyone needs to, and it's kind of like, I'm gonna teach you guys. I hate that.
I think there's a lot of people that think they're George Carlin.
I
think, the epitome of that kind of person to me is like Bill Maher.
Yeah.
I've always, I don't know what to say. I've always thought that, no, but like, right. I think that, cause I think that he thinks he's being Carlin.
He thinks he's being brilliant.
Yeah. And he's not a horrible comic. I'm sure,
He is a humorless fuck.
I'm not a fan. I watched a clip from his show the other day, and I was so upset that there was a joke I liked.
Oh, it's like, what is that? Like the meme, like worst person.
Worst person, made a good. But it was talking about John Fetterman, and I disagreed with the basic premise of the bit.
Okay.
But there's one joke I thought was great where it was about Fetterman meeting with Trump, and he's like, and Trump thanked him for his participation on January 6th. Which is like, that's a funny joke. He does look like one of those guys.
Fine.
It's a good joke. But
you only get it because Fetterman sucks. It will allow it.
Sure. And it's also like, he probably didn't write it. He has writers. You know what I mean?
That's a very good point. I think he is too sensitive to be a good comic. I don't think that you can be that sensitive about yourself and be good at comedy.
But don't you think we're all sensitive?
We are all sensitive, but he is just a soft, bruised little bitch.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he gets all like...
He's very smug. That's what I don't like about him.
Yeah, the smugness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you got to be able to roll with it a little bit.
Mm.
Like I've seen him like leave interviews like in a huff.
Yeah.
You can't like be like a man of the people just spreading like intellect and then leave in a huff. When you
you definitely can't be you're silencing me. I gotta say whatever I want, and then be upset when people say stuff about you, which is like that's a hypocrisy.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the aging has-been comic is like a deeply hypocritical way of being. He's not the only one.
No, he's not. Of course, and that's back to Chris Rock and Bill Burr. That's part of what I love about it. I think that they've just continued to. Get better. Yeah. And like there's a self-awareness to their comedy And, you know, it's funny because they seem to like be friends with a lot of the people that I think would
Sure.
fit into the mold. But I'm also like, I'll probably be friends with people that suck when I'm in my 50s,
Well, especially
60s.
if you logged all those hours, like you think about like sunk cost. I mean, how long have those people known each other? Decades, you know, and you're just like, this fucking guy.
Yeah. So who are some comics that you liked growing up? Because you said you were always into comedy even before you were doing it.
So when I think about this, I kind of like, there are like chunks of like not what I thought was funny, what resonated towards me, and like what I like consumed a lot of. So in high school, it was like mandatory SNL. Like my family watched SNL together. Like from the time I was a kid, I got into Mad TV. I was watching that because it was just what was available.
Yeah.
And then I was really into, and I think because of SNL, I was really into like Mike Myers and like Mike Myers movies and Adam Sandler. And I remember my high school friend, we would quote it all the time. I mean, it was like part of the zeitgeist of like being a suburban high school kid.
Yeah.
And I loved that stuff. And then when I went to college, I started getting exposed to stand-ups and like really kind of seeking out stand-ups. And I remember finding out, so Mr. Show was like a big thing among people. I never got that into Mr. Show, but I really liked David Cross.
Yeah.
And I remember listening,
I
love David Cross. And I remember listening to an album that came out I think it was like my junior year in college. And it was like it was like a lot of like post 9/11 stuff.
Was that Shut Up You Fucking Baby? Is it that one?
It was the thing where he does like the bit about the American flags and all the flags.
Maybe. He's somebody where I've like listened to all his albums, but they all like at a certain point it all blends together.
Sure.
But I just love that one just because of the title. It's just an amazing title.
It was the first time I'd really heard someone talking about like something like in the moment political, because it was very like anti-Iraq war and it was hysterical. And so I really liked David Cross. And then I really liked Wanda Sykes. I remember listening to a lot of Wanda Sykes. I remember listening to Brian Regan. A friend of mine had a Brian Regan album, and I really liked him. And then my bandmate, who I ended up moving up here for the first band, was really into Bill Hicks, and I'd never heard of Bill Hicks before. So those were like the ones in college where I was like stand up, like that's what stand up is, and kind of like how, you know. But it still felt like, that's someone else makes that. Like that's not something I could ever do. I knew a couple people in college who wanted to be stand-ups, and they would like do open mics. And I remember just thinking like, how do you do that? Like that's, you know, whatever. And then like post that grad school stuff like that, I got into shows. I feel like shows comedically were very important to me. So I was really into Key and Peele after grad school, or like I guess it was like when did they started in like 2012, I think.
Yeah, I think around then, yeah.
I was really into The British Office and The Mighty Boosh.
Oh, okay.
I fucking loved The Mighty Boosh. Those were also the club drug era years, so that makes a lot of sense. And then
what do you mean by club drug?
Well, that was like mid 2000. So there was just like, it was a lot of, it was like grad school, New York, down here. It was just like a lot of that.
Okay.
So like The Mighty Boosh was like, that makes sense, right? That's like a totally normal aesthetic, and like that's for my brain. Broad City was like a little bit later, and I was like, so it was like, I feel like shows, like comedic shows, were really like integral to like informing what I thought was funny. And then I think stand-ups kind of, and then there was like another wave of stand-ups that came after that, which was like, I remember seeing a lot of comedy in New York and like doing more like indie stuff, seeing more like indie performers and being like, okay, this is another realm that I'd never seen before, and like this feels cool.
Who was that you were seeing then?
Who would I have seen at that time? I mean, I remember seeing Gary Gulman.
Oh, yeah.
And thinking like, I've never seen anyone make jokes like this. You know, just like the way that he would string together jokes, it didn't remind me of anybody else. And I remember just being like, well, this is important. This feels important. And then I never went to like the Cellar or like Comic Strip or any of the clubs. It was always felt like it was these sort of like little things I'd get invited to.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing Aziz early and fine. That seemed fine. Like, but it was like, again, it was like, oh, that's different. Like this doesn't feel like an HBO special.
Yeah.
There's this other echelon of people working. And again, but that's not, I could never do that. This is just something I consume and I really like. It was like, he
was one of my first favorite comics.
But he was like quirky, but it wasn't so alty. Cause there were also like, I mean, Reggie Watts was doing his thing. Reggie Watts almost destroyed a show of mine.
What do you mean?
So I have this very vivid, this actually wasn't.
Was this a music show?
Yeah.
That you guys were on together?
I was on stage while this happened.
Oh my God. I tell me
so
everything.
So for CMJ, CMJ was like a big music festival that like, I don't know if they do anymore, but it was a big scene kind of, you know, like you wanted to get in CMJ. It was like maybe our response to like South by in the city. and they might have other things now. And so we were on the main stage at Rockwood when Rockwood still existed, and which again is around here somewhere. And you know him from like
Reggie Watts.
Yes.
He's a very distinct looking person. If anyone listens to this, to the listener, Dad.
Sorry, that's my
Dad. If you're listening,
and mine as well.
Just Google Reggie Watts and you'll be like, yeah, I would not. I would recognize this guy.
Yeah. And this wasn't like that. I mean, this wasn't that long. It was pre-pandemic, but it wasn't like in 2008 or anything. And we were on stage, and he walks in because CMJ it was everywhere. Like everything became a venue, so people would just kind of like walk around. They'd walk into stuff, and like Rockwood is like a good spot, and so it was like central, and it was a great show. I mean, it was like I was very honored to be there. And he walks in the back of the venue, and I immediately, because like you're on stage, you see over the audience, I see him, and I'm in the middle of playing, and I'm just like, that's Reggie Watts. There's no other person on earth that could be, and so. I think a couple people around him like turned around and they were like, oh shit, that's Reggie Watts. And then other people, and it just kind of like spread through the crowd until everyone was just turned around while I was playing, like trying to be like, hey man, what's up? Blah, 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 blah. And he was like very chill about it and like left quickly after, but I never got the crowd back after that. They were all just like, should we go? Should we whatever? And this happened to me one other time with Robert Pattinson.
Okay, what? He was just there?
He cleared a room. We were at Mercury Lounge, and we were just doing a show. We used to play Mercury Lounge a bit, and he was at the bar, I guess, and he was pretty unrecognizable because like he went through like a very unkempt phase.
This was like what year would this have been?
This would have been like 2017.
Oh, okay, so it was
after Twilight.
But it was a little bit before. I feel like now it's like everybody just knows like, oh, Robert Pattinson, he's an amazing actor. But it definitely this was a little bit. This probably would have been like around the time that Good Time came out, maybe a little bit before that.
He was definitely trying to hide.
Yeah,
like, he was incognito, but like people spotted him, and then people were like, "Oh my God, Robert Pattinson at the bar!" And then he just like cleaned out the showroom.
Wow, this is why he's perfect for Batman.
Oh yeah,
that's such a Batman thing to do.
It's such a Batman thing to do, and like he was like very embarrassed. You could tell he was kind of like, oh, whatever, and he was like kind of trying to be nice to people. And he paid his bill like quickly and like whatever, and then he like left. And but yeah, Reggie Watts and Robert Pattinson.
Did you get to meet either of them?
No, I mean I was on stage when Reggie cleared the room. And it
would have been funny if you were like, yeah, the show's over. That's Reggie Watts.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I felt. It was like, and Quincy's like in the zone, so I remember he like kind of, I don't think he noticed. And then afterwards I had to be like, yeah, that was, but I don't hold it against him. I think he was just trying to see some of the music that was around.
Yeah.
Had everyone been cool, I think I could have wowed Reggie Watts, but everyone lost their shit.
Your career would be so different.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was, I remember seeing him. He was also like around at a lot of stuff. You'd see him. Judah Friedlander was around a lot. And I remember seeing...
he's so funny.
He's super funny. And this was also like 30 Rock kind of era. So he was definitely like... he was very visible. And I remember seeing him, and it was kind of the same thing where I was like, so this is comedy. I really like this.
He's very invisible now.
Yes.
I did get to meet him recently. I was on a show with him.
Yeah. Cupboard?
No, it was, Jim Two's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was his show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, so that was like the first, and I guess the thing is that like, there's like an altiness that I think is, and like Reggie Watts is, I think kind of maybe he's kind of more on that side of like, there's an altiness that can be sort of impenetrable, where it's like, okay, I get that this exists. I don't want this, but good on you for doing it. I found his stuff to be still like funny and like accessible, but there definitely was like another notch down where I think things were like a little bit, at least for me, I was kind of like, whatevs. But there was this sort of like alty kind of space where I had never seen comics work like that. So it was interesting. But for me at the time, I didn't think it was informing me at all because I'm a musician. I do music. That's cool. I love seeing this stuff. That's really neat that you guys do this. We are different people. And so I just sort of like put it in my filing system in my brain. I wasn't like thinking about it as influence or inspiration or anything. Mm-hmm. I just remember these people.
Yeah. Reggie Watts is an interesting one because I think for me, one of the things that gave me the confidence to do stand up, especially coming from like being somebody who like I really wanted to be a musician, I wanted to be a rapper and producer, and I played guitar, and like I just I mean, there were a couple reasons why that didn't really take. I mean, one is just I think it requires a different work ethic that I didn't necessarily have, you know.
Yeah.
And then two, I guess three things. Two, my brain's maybe just not wired that way. Like I think that I'm capable of writing jokes in a different way than I am of like writing songs. And the third one is that a lot of times I when I would see musicians, I would never really think I could do that. I think I want to do that.
Totally get that.
I think I wish I could do that, you know?
Completely.
And then with comics, I'd see a lot of even people that, you know, I think are some of the best, whether it's like Mulaney or somebody, I think I could do a version of that.
Yeah.
But then Reggie Watts, that's somebody where I'm like, I have no idea what he's doing. I mean, I think he's hilarious. I think he's a genius, but like, I see him and I'm like, I can't even wrap my brain around how he can do that.
Yeah. I deeply sympathize with that. Because it was, for me, it was like the flip kind of thing where it was like, I saw musicians, and once I finally saw them do it live, I thought, well, I'm not going to play that music, but I can do this.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I would see comedians, I would think, I'm so glad you're doing this because I cannot do that. And it just like, I get it.
When did you stop having that feeling?
Literally the minute I did it for the first time. Truly, it's not like an exact. I had the instructor for the class because it was like a class show.
Where was it at?
The Cellar.
The Cellar.
And so she's.
So the first time you ever performed stand up was at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was for it wasn't like what
That's
I mean.
like I think that was Aziz too. I think that was his origin story as well. Yeah.
So. I like truly, I remember thinking like, God, this woman has been the instructor who's a comic, who's a Cellar comic, has been so supportive and so nice. And I'm so sad that she's wrong. Like, I'm so sorry how wrong she's gotten this. And it's going to disappoint her, but I'll probably never see her again. I'm going to say I have to go to the bathroom and then I'm just going to walk out.
Uh-huh.
But she's like about my height and she was just standing behind me. And then I was like, oh, I don't have an exit like this woman. And then she just kind of like,
oh my God.
So it really wasn't until like it was happening where I actually thought I could do that. I liked writing funny things. I liked making people laugh, but I still wasn't sure that I could actually do it. I still have things now where I had a thing recently where I was on a plane. I was on a plane to a headlining weekend. Mm-hmm. And I was like, have I done this before? Have I ever done stand-up before? Like I had this weird moment on the plane where I was like, wait, it was like one of those dreams where it's like all of a sudden you're like, you have to do a play and you're like, I've never been to rehearsal,
Sure.
I was like literally in the air being like, I've done stand-up, right? Like this isn't a nightmare. I didn't like trick someone. Like I still have these blips where my brain will just be like, oh, you should go home.
So you feel like it sounds like a little bit of like imposter syndrome.
It sneaks in. Yeah. It sneaks in when you kind of don't expect it, but for sure.
I had a dream, a stand-up dream the other night that I was booked on a show and it was like there were like 5 people and then like doing 5 minutes and then like somebody doing 30 minutes. And then right before my set, they're like, you're actually only doing 2 minutes. And
I feel like that's real.
Yeah, it was such like,
it
was a nightmare.
You had it last night?
Maybe like 2 nights ago. It was pretty recent, and I don't typically remember dreams. Like even if I remember them when I wake up, they usually fade pretty quickly.
Sure. I had a comedy nightmare last night.
What was yours?
So I attribute it because I ate cheese. Do you get cheese dreams or a thing? Do you know about this?
Yes. Wait, did I?
It'll make you have weird dreams, and I don't eat cheese that often. And I had cheese last night, and then I had a weird comedy nightmare. So I had an audition in the dream. I had an audition for a club, and I was like, I don't want to. It's like not a club I like, and so I was like, I don't want to fucking do this. Like I don't care. And then it was like, no, you should just go and audition. So I was like, fine, I'll go and audition for this club. And I get there, and it is a Costco, but there's stadium seating in part of it, and people are like sitting and eating hot dogs, but it's also packed. It's like a super busy day for Costco, and they just put a mic in the front, and people didn't know, so they were stepping on the mic cable. They kept disconnecting the mic. Nobody knew that there was like comedy going on. I didn't know where to look because there were just people milling around, and there wasn't a stage, and I just like had a mic. I forgot my material, so I was just like riffing. But it was like, I was so angry that I was there and that it was at a Costco and that like no one knew why they were there either. And so they were just like, it was awful. And and I woke up and I was like, honestly, it's probably could happen.
I don't know that I've ever had a good stand-up dream. I remember having one once where I was like performing for like a crowd of kids.
Okay. Jesus.
And just like I remember being in the dream, I'm on stage and I'm just like, none of my material is gonna work.
Yeah. For
and
these
like,
kids.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had like maybe I have had a good stand-up dream, but
I've had dreams where I will do a joke, like a new joke, and it crushes. I mean, it's like in my mind, I'm like, oh, Wilson, this is brilliant. And then I will wake up and think of the joke and it's nothing. I mean, it's literally nothing. But I've had dreams like that where I'm like, this is great. Like I'm a genius in my sleep. And then I wake up, I'm like, what the fuck is this? So
I think, actually there was I had a dream that I wrote for SNL. That was the only.
Oh shit, that's cool.
I think it was a good dream. I guess just the fact that in my dream I was writing for SNL.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the closest I've come to a good comedy dream. I don't remember if there was still like, I feel like there was probably some dark turn
Some weird
in it
shit.
where I was about to get fired or something. Like even in my dream, I'm getting fired from SNL.
It's hysterical.
Which honestly
could be good.
That'd be a dream come true.
Yeah.
I would like.
It works, man. Getting fired is it's like a comedy sex tape. It will launch you.
Well, I heard James Austin Johnson say this in an interview about like when he got SNL that he was like, I know that like I'm gonna be good, like that I can work in comedy for the rest of my life, like that.
Just having
that credit attached to your name, even if you get fired after one season, like you're never gonna have to like be like, do I gotta like go back to school for something? Do I gotta get like a sales job? You know?
Yeah, he's so good though.
He's great. I mean, and he's been great on the show.
Yeah.
What are your aspirations as a comic?
That's a good. It's interesting. So, I have them, and I don't know. So, this is a weird time of year, this has been a weird sort of few months. Whereas, like, it feels, at least for me, like a little pandemic-y, because it like does feel like the world is collapsing.
Yeah.
And then like everyone seems fine, but I'm like, but we're not. What like. No one's just like out here crushing it, right?
I think
like,
we're all still so traumatized from the pandemic,
sure.
and I think what's going on in the world right now. I think that I agree that it feels very similar. I think that there's a lot of denial. I think that it's a lot. I feel it in myself too. I was just like, I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with all that shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
been kind of hard to like think about the future. Like, and that's been kind of strange because for the past 2 years, like I really feel like I hit the ground running. Like I feel like I also have like 2 modes. So I have, and nothing in between.
Yeah.
And so it's like, one of the modes is just hustling, like low sleep, hustling, accepting every show, doing absolutely everything, networking, reaching out, like just, everything I possibly can, just like really hitting the ground running. And then there's throwing my phone in the ocean, moving into a lighthouse and never talking to another human being again. And like, those are my 2 poles. And I've definitely been feeling the latter more than the former for the past few months, which I think is what you're saying. It's like this weird sort of like shock response to what's going on. So it's been hard. I feel like I had like all this future stuff in my head like last year. And then it kind of like, it's been hard to think of the future. So everything's felt really like close and small. Like, okay, like I'm going to do a couple more shows in April, or I'm going to, reach out to the people in Oklahoma that I was told I would reach out to. I'm going to do some stuff out there, go back to LA. It all feels like really small picture, because when I think of like the next 2 years, I'm like, is there a 2 year? Like it's my brain is having trouble doing that. So that's been kind of like hard to plan for, of like, what are my future goals if I'm like not hopeful about the future? And so I don't know. So I've just been trying to kind of do like, I'm going to do more writing. Like that feels like something I can control.
Yeah.
Like the world can be on fire around me and I can just focus on writing better and writing more. So that's felt accessible in my brain, is like, there's an area that I know, like I can feel I want to start writing in, and there's like topics that I know that I want to start doing. And it's like, let's just kind of immerse myself into that. It feels weird to be traveling now. So I like, past 2 years travel a lot, right? As much as I can, out as much as I possibly can.
For comedy or just generally?
Comedy.
Okay.
And then now, like, I don't want to be far from my dog.
What feels weird? Just sort of with everything that's going on in the world there.
It like feels like when things feel unsafe, I don't want to be far from home. So like, I had some road dates last month. I had quite a few, and I got to do. I was out in Atlanta, and then I was back out in Colorado. I did Denver and Boulder, and then came back and then did some of the club stuff in New Jersey that I knew I was going to have to do. And I felt really weird about being away from home in a way that I haven't felt before. Like I was calling and checking up a lot, making sure everything's okay, like making it just like kind of in a way that like felt pandemic-y, not wanting to like, just sort of be like out and free.
Yeah.
So that's different. We'll see what that looks like the rest of the year. I just booked some stuff for October, and there is a future.
Sure.
But I'm not like out here being, I don't know, like is anyone else out here being like super hopeful?
Yeah, I don't know. It does feel like a pessimistic time, and not in an irrational way.
Yeah. I mean, but like, yeah, 100%. But then I guess you think about it, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe whenever this clears, like, I mean, my favorite thing in the world, and I was so lucky to get to do this past month, or in March. So I don't know when this will come out, but I got to do this in March, which was I got to go headline a club for a weekend.
And that was your first time?
Yes, we'll just kind of keep that on the low, because I'm trying not to be real forward about that and getting.
And that was like what, your 30th time?
Yeah. Well, I'd headlined that club before. Yeah. Because I was in Boulder for a festival last year, and then headlined one night, and the guy that runs it is great, and was like, "Hey, you should come back. Like, you should come back for a weekend." So it was like a nice kind of, it felt like sort of a natural progress. And it was wonderful. It was so wonderful to have like, a lot of time to do different kinds of material and be able to kind of like wrangle the night for people and have the different crowds and just sort of experience what the crowds there are like. And I added a headlining spot in Denver the day or two before. So I got to kind of warm it up a little bit and like had, it was just great. And so I was like, this is fantastic. Like this is the goal, is to be able to kind of do what some of the comics that I admire, who, I see out in the scene or have gotten to work with, where they have a fan base. They get to go to that city. They get to perform for the fan base, do the new thing. And that is really like their scaffolding. Like that's their bread and butter. They get to tour for the people. They get to like, do all that stuff. That I actually think is kind of the goal. Build the fan base, get invited to the places, go to the places, do your comedy. That seems like kind of the best case scenario. And like that is future forward. That's hopeful. Yeah. That's not, there has to be a future for that to happen.
And you mentioned that you said that there's things you're excited about writing, or like directions you want to go. What was that? So
I think what it really comes down to, and I've thought about this a bit, is I have plenty of jokes I can make work. So there's a difference between making something work. I can get the laugh out of the joke. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm talking about something I care about. It doesn't mean it's like drivel. Yeah. It's just that I found something funny and I'm able to do the math on it. Like I can get the result on it, and it works, and it does the job, and I can blah, blah, blah. But there's stuff that I like care about right now, and I like care about talking about, and I can feel it as I'm writing. And a lot of the stuff is like raw, like it's like uncooked. But I feel like, I actually want to talk about this on stage. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go do the thing because I know how to do the math of it. But it's like, no, I want to like crack into this thing. I want to like talk about this thing, or I want to, I find like all the kernels that could make someone laugh from this material. So that's more exciting, because it's like, and then maybe that's just what always happens when you have old material. Yeah. And you're like, I want to get away from this older material. And these are new things that I'm excited to talk about, or to bring back on stage.
And what is that? What would you say are those?
What are those things that I'm working on right now? So I have a thing about kink culture that I think is funny. Yeah. That I don't think is like punching down or whatever, but it's about like the absurdity in. It was kind of like about how people, I think, really got on board with not kink shaming. Yeah. But they're like still very comfortable with shaming all of these other things. But for some reason, everyone's like, no, like that's a step too far. And just sort of like the absurdity in some of that. And that's been kind of fun on stage. It's also just like not a topic I usually talk about. So it's not redundant from like other material I have. And I have a bit that I'm trying to work on about Amazon and this sort of weird American impulse we have to take things that were totally fine and make them evil. But like there's, and so Amazon was just a bookstore. Like it was an online bookstore. And so, but there's this sort of weird impulse it feels like we have in the US that we will take the most mundane thing and then we will make it the most evil thing that exists, like the most harmful, the most evil. And so Amazon kind of came up, and so I have, bits about sort of, trying to, because I think it's funny, and I think you can make fun of Jeff Bezos. You should.
Yeah, you should.
As an American, you should make fun of Jeff Bezos. And then there was, there was something else. Oh, I had a thing. Oh, I'm really excited about this one, which is the idea of experiencing different kinds of anti-Semitism.
Oh, yeah.
And being warned a lot, because as I've been traveling, I hear this a lot from people, my parents, and just like people in general, where they'll say something like, don't go to that place, right? Like they don't like Jews.
Right.
And then having to kind of, break it to people like, no one likes Jews,
Yeah.
like they don't like them here either. But the idea that when you go to a place.
Yeah, I've never, where do you go?
Where do they love you, right?
But
the idea when you go to a place where they don't have any Jews, their anti-Semitism is way more fun.
Yeah.
Because they've had to just make it up whole cloth. Like they weren't like, oh, well, I had Jewish neighbors and they did this thing or like whatever, where it's like up here, it's not fun because there's so many Jews. That a lot of times the stereotypes come from.
Anti-Semitism is just correct.
Yeah, it's like they'll see you do some fucked up shit and you're like, we shouldn't have done that, you know? But when you go to other places, they've had to use their full imagination.
Yeah.
And so you get like wild shit. So that's been fun to kind of think about. But again, it's like, it's probably I don't think it has any more or less gravity than anything else I've written. It's just that it's new and it feels like it's sort of a new way that my brain is working through things. And it feels more exciting than telling my 2-year-old Planet Fitness joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a big step in comedy where like, because I think at first it's just, how do I write a joke? How do I say something funny? And then at a certain point, then you're like, okay, I know how to write a joke. Now I can talk about what I want to talk about. And
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's a cool, because that's what makes comics interesting. I mean, it's obviously, you got great joke writers and a great joke is a great joke, but it's like, I think like Jim Gaffigan, somebody for example, where it's like he talks about 5 topics in every special.
Yeah.
He talks about being fat, food, his family, traveling, and being Catholic, and like that's all. But he has such good jokes about those topics, and I think it's really, and I mean, I think it seems like a lot of the biggest comics, because that's how you get successful, where it's like people have these topics that they're like, that's what I want to hear about from this guy. And for some reason with Dave Chappelle, it's trans people, but
it is now. And I don't know, man. It's all he can do.
Yeah, that's
all it is.
It was a weird pivot.
It's a weird
we don't have to get into that on here, but just a strange career move from his point.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have hurt him for the most part, but
well, but that's the thing. I mean, we don't have to like, whatever with Chappelle, but because I think it applies to all these guys, is this idea of any response that's not adoration being like you're being canceled or you're being censored. And it's like, nah, man, you're a public figure. Like if you got on the street corner with a bullhorn and you said some shit, people are going to be like, cool or not cool. You have a bullhorn. You're not being censored. Like you have Netflix specials. No one is censoring you. You're receiving negative feedback.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's just a marker of success and fame, because I think for a lot of these guys that do this, it's like you received so much negative feedback, probably only negative feedback for a long time. You just got so comfortable with being adored that you started to see it as the natural order. And so now when someone's like, nah, I don't like that, it's like, this is anathema to the natural order. And it's like, no, you just got real comfy in your fame. You're just getting feedback, man. And if you're like, I don't agree with the feedback, then go do your trans things. Do the whatever the fuck.
Do the jokes, but it's like, you can't be mad if people don't like them.
You can't be mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're like, everyone must adore me. Like that is what you're rubbing up against with that. It's not like I'm going to be edgy or whatever. It's that you're expecting everyone to adore you.
But it's also, if you're doing the kind of jokes like that, it's like you're doing it with an expectation that there's going to be some outrage.
Right. So why then are you apoplectic? Because there was the outrage. Like guys, but it's not just him. There's a whole bunch of them.
There's a lot. But we can get off that topic.
Sure. Move it along.
There's enough podcasts talking about that,
Like the Rogan podcast?
Oh, yeah. There's...
Good
Which Joe, if you're listening,
Go fuck yourself.
I think you're a great guy. I'd love to do the podcast.
Don't do that podcast. It's insane.
No, I'm not.
Absolutely not.
Not a.
It's like peak clownery and not in a fun way.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, do you know Renan Hirschberg?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that he's been on that podcast.
Has Renan been on that?
He has, and he publicly shits on the podcast on his Instagram. Like, it's...
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why it's like a big platform.
It's a career move. Like, I'm not like angling to be on it, but it's like, if I had the opportunity, it's not something where I think I'd say no.
I just don't think I could sit in a room with Joe Rogan. Could you sit in a room with Joe Rogan?
I've sat in rooms with worse.
Worse, really?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've sat on planes with worse.
Fucking pilots, right?
Let's get into that.
Yeah.
I just think it would be tough. I think it would be tough to like sit across from someone who's such a ding dong. Oh, I think it'd be infuriating.
Yeah. I don't know.
But those listeners, I'm seeing you do that math.
I'm doing the math. I'm like, it's, even if it's people that are like, I fucking hate this guy. Like, I'm like,
drives up engagement.
It's ears, it's ears and eyes and.
Yeah. It's all, what is it? Like, it's all engagement.
Yeah, engagement, which is
the
like.
negative stuff is all engagement.
I don't know. The internet sucks.
Yeah, it's breaking our brains in a real weird way.
It really, not in like the positive way where like you think of like, oh, listening to Radiohead for the first time broke my brain. Like, yeah. It's like going on Instagram for 18 hours a day. Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing all this stuff. I have to like put my phone away because I'm also like, I'm getting outraged. Like I can't, like I get outraged and I just like, oh, I can't do this. Like everyone's an idiot. Everyone's whatever. Like, and I'm getting like boomer outrage.
I've gotten good at I think during COVID was when I had like the most, I'm also like, I'm off Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. It was after the election. I was like, I already was like thinking about deleting it and just getting so angry every time I opened it.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, I'm off it. But also my friend who, he is much more online than I, he's like, just mute people. People.
But it's a Nazi site.
I know.
It's a Nazi website run by a Nazi who makes money from you being on the Nazi site.
Well, this was pre that.
Okay.
This was pre Elon buying Twitter, but it's just.
Oh, sure.
When he was like, I was like, I hate going. I was like, I still go on it. I hate it. I feel like it's ruining my life every single second of my. And he's like, and I was like, I don't understand how you don't feel that way. He's like, if I see a tweet I don't like, I unfollow. I don't care. I don't care about like what anything. I'm just, and so that's
good.
And I do that advice. And now I'm not on, but I do that on Instagram now where like,
the blocking on Instagram.
Oh my God. I mean, it's harder when it's people I know than
Do you have a lot of, I feel like I'm genuinely like relatively well protected. Like I feel like I don't follow a ton of people and that's the reason.
Yeah.
I don't see any wild shit and the few wild stuff I've seen I've just unfollowed.
Yeah, I definitely don't see as much stuff. For me it's not even, I think I've gotten into like maybe like the dopamine addiction part of it of just like watching like cooking videos or like
that's not terrible though.
Which is not terrible, watching like dogs and
dogs.
It's mostly like it's also like the algorithm knows what I want. And so it's just giving me like food videos, dogs being cute, and then like cool basketball highlights. That
sounds like a great algorithm.
I know, but it's like, but I don't want to be on my phone all day.
I know.
And so it's like, even when it's great, I'm still like rotting my brain.
Just scrolling.
And scrolling.
Yeah. My algorithm was so, especially on TikTok, it was so perfect before the election. It was perfect. It was dogs, it was travel, it was tarot, it was some astrology, it was like crystals, absolute horseshit. All day, just innocuous horseshit. And now it's just like breaking news, and I want my dumb tarot girls.
Yeah.
And my like dogs in a meadow back.
Well, you really are like a millennial white woman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just want tarot and dogs.
I just want tarot and dogs. I think that is what like the source of so much of my anxiety around this right now is that like I was imagining just kind of like aging into just like mundanity, right? I just wanted to I want a dog. I have a dog. I might want 4 more, right? Just to keep it reasonable. I was just like, I just want to like go on vacation. I want to go to a beach. I want to like, I don't love brunch, but you know what I mean? Like whatever the equivalent of that is.
You don't love brunch?
I don't love brunch.
What do you
I
not
actually
like
have
about brunch?
very strong brunch opinions, but I don't want to like have to imagine the revolution. I like wanted to go to a day spa. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%.
I'm like, I understand there's probably people out there that's like, we need the that's, you know, whatever. Okay, fine. But like,
They're probably right, but like,
you're probably right.
yeah.
I am tired, my friends. My opinions on brunch, hard turn. I love brunch food.
Okay.
I love brunch food. It is timed at an absolutely insane part of the day to be eating that food. It's insane. So
Too late in the day?
Yeah, it's both too early and too late. So like, I'm not gonna go, like if there's like a brunch that has like birthday cake pancakes with ice cream or like a caprese salad, I'm not getting a salad.
Sure,
I'm getting birthday cake pancakes. Consuming that amount of sugar at like 11:45 in the morning ruins me metabolically for the day.
Yeah.
I will end up with like a migraine. I'm exhausted. I'm cranky. I'm dizzy when I stand up. Like if you're going to eat that, that has to be a before bed meal. So I love brunch food, but if I eat it, my day is ruined.
I feel that. I totally get that.
Make brunch at night.
I'd say my favorite brunch food is chicken and waffles.
100%.
It's amazing.
Covered in syrup.
Oh my God, it's incredible. But
ruins your day.
Yeah. I also, here's the thing about brunch is that whenever you make the brunch plans, it's always like you plan for like 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. Somehow you don't start eating until 2.
Yeah.
Like that's what always happens. And then you go and then I'm just hungry the whole day.
And I
don't do anything. Yeah.
Yes.
So
fuck brunch.
I'm
and it's the timing because I love a brunch menu, but like have there be a restaurant where dinner is brunch, and I will go there at 7:30.
So brunch all day. That's what you want.
Yeah, I want brunch all day, and I want to eat. I want to eat it at night.
Yeah.
And before, when I was drinking, which I'm not anymore, but when I was, that even adds a layer. That adds a layer of fuckery.
My God. Because I remember going for like and I also don't really drink anymore, but going for like a friend's birthday brunch and being like, I gotta spend, and like
game over.
Ended up spending $40, which this is when I first moved to New York. I'm still broke, but I was even more then.
It's a lot of money.
And just it's like, it's bottomless mimosas. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna have 8 mimosas.
Yep, you got.
I guess I'm just gonna have 8 mimosas at 11 a.m.
Yeah, because you paid for it.
Yeah.
And then you're like hung over at like 6:30. Like and it's
it ruins the whole. Yeah. No, you've kind of. Day. Now I feel like this has turned into Subway takes.
That's my hot take. That's a hot take that I feel like isn't like militant and terrifying.
But no, it's
just move it up. Just move it to a different time.
Yeah.
Keep the vibes, and it's like just move it up. And then I know that people do it so that they can go to work on Monday. Cancel work on Mondays. Don't work on Mondays. Move brunch later. That's it.
Yeah. So I guess let's we got off topic a little bit, but let's get to the titular question.
Okay.
Which is gotta take the glasses off for this one.
Okay.
Why aren't you more famous?
That's a great question. I feel like you and my stepmom have very similar lining of questions. For me, I think. Why am I not? I think it comes down to the thing I said before, which is like the 2 modes of being for me, where I have and really there isn't like I really don't operate in between. It's just like full speed, completely immersed, hustling, or will not talk to a human being for a long time. Like it's just like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anybody. And one of those is very good for progress career-wise, and one of those is like make it just as like a screeching halt. So I think that is not working to my advantage because you get momentum and you're supposed to always capitalize off of your momentum. And then when I've been like working for a long time, I shut off and I'm like, I can't engage with anybody anymore. And then you just kind of like cut a lot of the momentum off, and then you kind of have to like start over. So I feel like that now it hasn't been that long, but I feel like that is not going to work in my favor. Like something probably has to give there because that's not going to work. The other answer I could give you is I just got here, so give me a second.
Yeah.
That could be one. But
I think that's the most reasonable.
Because I just got here?
I think so. And I mean, I think that's something I try to remind myself of that all the time. That's like, that this takes time. And it's not, for me, it's not necessarily that fame in itself is the goal, but it's like, I want to be a working comedian. I want this to be what I'm doing full time, and fame, is just the thing that makes that more possible.
Yeah.
And
it's uncontrollable though.
Yes, it is uncontrollable. So that's part of why it's not the goal.
Right.
It's, the goal is just for this to be the job, for me to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And
I think that makes sense. And the other part you can kind of control. I mean, to an extent you really can. I know that there's obviously like, you can't control everything, but if there's like, there is a certain, like you put in the work, build the bridges, do the work that you can make a career out of that. And then the fame part is, I think, what makes people crazy, because that is out of your control. And you might think like, but I've put in all the work, I've done all this stuff, I deserve X, Y, and Z recognition, but it's like sand through your fingers.
Yeah.
Like it's totally out of control. But yeah, I think for me, I don't know. So do you want to be famous? Like, think about this. And your answer might be yes. I'm just very curious. Like, we're sitting here, right? There's a window to the street. This is normal and fine. We're able to talk to each other and no one's losing their goddamn mind outside. If you're famous, everyone outside is like, do you want that? If the answer is yes, that's totally fine.
I don't know, but I also, if I was famous, I'd get a different studio. that's the thing, like I wouldn't, yeah. So it's like, maybe. I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I would like to have a fan base. I don't think I care so much about being the biggest comic in the world, but I think like to a degree, yeah. But then I do think about that. Like I was in Seattle recently, saw Tyler the Creator. I didn't go to a show, but he was there.
Oh wow!
I was there, so I saw him on the street, and just seeing everybody be like, "Oh my god, that's Tyler."
Yeah.
And I said hi to him. I was like, "Hey, big fan of the new album." He's like, "Thanks," and that was kind of it. I just kept moving, but just seeing everybody recognize him, and I was like, "That I don't want that," but I'm also like, if you're getting that because, like, for somebody like him, who I'm such a fan of, I'm like, but he's getting that because of how good he is at making his art.
He's getting recognition for his work.
Yeah. And so I guess I do want to be recognized for my work.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily care about what level of fame.
I think that makes sense.
That comes with.
I think that makes sense.
What about you?
It's like I would like the stability and recognition for my work. I want people to enjoy my work. That's a very cool thing.
Sure.
When you can experience that. And it's like, oh, I brought something cool into that person's life. The thing, I don't think I would be cool about it. I think I'd be weird. I'm often weird around people. I kind of don't, compliments are the death of me. I don't enjoy them. They make me feel very uncomfortable. Obviously, I'm not a robot. I can recognize that someone is trying to say or do something nice.
Yeah.
But it makes me want to crawl into my own butthole. I don't think I'd be a good famous person. I think I would not know what to do. And I think I would be a little weird about it. I had, and this is not fame, but there was a thing that happened last year in one of the cities I went to. I can tell this very quickly, where a group of people, I was leaving the venue and I had to get to the airport. Like I had like a shitty red-eye flight that I had to get on, and I had an earlier show and then I had to get to another city. Like it was just inconveniently timed. And I got out of the venue and I heard someone be like, "Hey, Mia." And there was a man who called me by name. So I was like, oh, I bet he works at the venue. Like that's why my brain made sense of like, he works at the venue. And he had a bunch of friends with him, all people, different kinds of people. And they were like, "Hey, like great show." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And then I was like, okay, well, they can't all work at the venue. Like I really wasn't comprehending what was happening. And then I kind of realized they were standing around me in a semicircle and just kind of like looking at me and smiling. And so I was like, "Oh, like what brought you out?" Like, because I'm like, fuck, do I know these people? I don't want to be rude. And they were like, "We saw your Instagram. Like we like saw your clips, and then we saw that you were here tonight, and we came out." And I was like, "Oh, do you guys live here?" And one of them was like, "No, I live in a different city, but you were there and I couldn't see you there, so we drove." And it was like, this is so nice, right? This is such a people went out of their way, they spent money, and I just like I felt immediately very perceived, very uncomfortable, guilty. First of all, because I was like, you should, like, in my mind, I was like, you shouldn't have gotten a babysitter. You shouldn't have spent money. Why did you spend money on this? Like, things are hard right now. Like, I was like, I'm a waste of your money. Like, you shouldn't do that. But then, I was like, okay, just be normal, right? It's like your internal monologue. I was like, okay, well, what are you guys up to tonight? What are you doing? What's cool around here? And I was really kind of trying to have a conversation, but then I realized like, they are not going to have a conversation with you. This isn't like you meet a comic in the green room and you're just able to, it's like I would ask them questions and then they would answer and then stare at me in this semicircle and just kind of stare and like smile. Because for them, they're not going to be like, oh, like, what do you do? Like, that's not how that goes. And I didn't know that.
That's interesting. I feel like I've had kind of the opposite.
You've had good
experience.
interaction? Well, this wasn't a bad interaction.
Well, no, and it's not neither good. I've had good ones that are opposite and bad ones that are opposite where it's people get overly familiar. And it's because I'll meet somebody that, and it's usually friends of friends,
okay.
People that know that. And so or just sometimes it is just a stranger that saw me at a show. And if I see them again, they like will approach you in a way where like you should remember them. And it's like, I understand that I was on stage that night. And even if it's, usually it's a show where I'm one of a few comics. Mm-hmm. And I understand. So you know about me.
Yeah.
You saw me talk. I briefly met you as I met a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
So I don't remember you. And so, or it's like they have more of a familiarity with you.
Well, because you disclose things that are vulnerable and personal.
Yeah. I remember there's like, I have a joke where, and we got to wrap up soon, but I have a joke where I mentioned like that my dad just texted me like through pictures of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm like, he says like, Sammy says hi. And so like, somebody comes up to me after show and goes, I also have a dog named Sammy. And I'm like, what the fuck? How do you know that about me?
Yeah.
And I like forgot that it was in a joke that I said on stage.
Yeah.
But I was just like so taken aback by it.
People remember the things you say and they connect.
Which is good. Them. That's what I want them to.
Yeah.
That means I'm doing the thing right.
But I think it's hard to imagine because we kind of just think you're going up, I'm doing the thing I always do. And I think it's very difficult, at least it's hard for me to imagine it actually mattering to someone.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, that mattered to me, or I remembered this about you, it's like, I feel immediate guilt.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but I'm so unimportant. Yeah. So the reason I brought that up is just because they were lovely. That they did, that was incredible, right? People went out of their way. They did. It was just like, that's such a gift. And I felt like my skin crawling. Like I couldn't, and I also felt like I'm not engaging with these people in a normal way. I'm not giving them a great experience of having met me. They're not going to walk away and be like, she was awesome. They're going to be like, that was a weird lady. And like that, I can't now multiply that by like a bajillion if you're very recognizable. I'm not knocking it out of the park ever. I can't even imagine having many, many of those every single day. I think I would be crazy. I would live in my lighthouse.
It makes sense why famous people are often so crazy. Mm-hmm. It's weird to see the ones that are good at dealing with
like Taylor Swift. That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, I think somebody like her, I'm like, she's got to be the craziest.
Oh, you think so? Everyone just says she's like incredible and she's such a delight.
And that's I think like because it's a constant performance. You got to always be on.
Yeah.
And I guess I wouldn't say she's the craziest. Kanye is probably the craziest.
That's a different brand.
That's the different. But those are sort of there's.
It's a breaking point though.
Yeah, I think like there's like the Taylor Swift, like Tom Cruise kind of thing where it's like you are. And these people are very talented and that's why they're successful to the degree that they are. But it's like you have become such a massive persona that people know you more than they know your art.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing about Taylor Swift where I'm like, I mean, I don't know, like, is she the most famous person alive right now? Maybe.
Yeah, like her and Beyonce?
Yeah. And it's like, think about how many people probably know who Taylor Swift is and have like never heard a Taylor Swift song.
Could recognize her, would know her in a photo, know things about her personal life.
Like Tom Cruise is somebody like that as well.
Yeah.
Where it's just, and it's just, I think that there's that level of fame. And then you see people like, the story you told about Robert Pattinson or Reggie Watts, which is like, and they're less famous, but they're famous.
Yeah.
Those are much more normal reactions to fame.
Yeah.
And even like when I saw Tyler, the Creator, very charismatic and charming guy, he's somebody where like, you see when you see, you're like, that, of course, that guy's a star,
Interesting.
But I still think he has a more normal level, level-headedness to him. At least, you know, I saw like him. Somebody asked him for a picture and he was like, "No thanks." Like, you know,
Okay.
and it's like totally fair. You're just going about your day, you know.
Oh yeah, can you just imagine like just a ton of horrible selfies of you all over the? Good Lord.
And I'm sure the first time somebody does it, I'd say yes, because I'd be like, what a cool thing that this person wants to take. I don't want
to disappoint this person.
Yeah, I can't believe I have a fan.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, after a certain point, but I also don't think I will ever get
to that level of
famous, you know.
Well, it's not the goal. I think it's healthy for it not to be the goal. You can't control it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've probably got art friends who have done well. I've got some people, especially coming up with music here and stuff, like people who like, you know, made it or whatever.
Yeah.
And the ones who wanted to be famous and got it are different people than the ones who got famous that just happened to them. The people who really sought out fame, it's a interesting type of person.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I definitely know some people, or at least, you know, tangentially know people who have gotten to a level of fame.
Yeah.
That you definitely see that. And I see that with comedy now with like a lot of my peers, and especially, I mean, you know, this is something I talked about on other episodes, but like the way the landscape and idea of fame has changed through social media.
Totally.
You know, which is like, even, you know, we're not even like that far apart in age, but it's like just the difference between like what fame meant when you were my age versus now. Like,
oh no, it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. And it changed, and I feel like it's rapidly changing to even like where, you know, when I was starting stand up in college, like TikTok was not a thing.
No, it's like a new
It was like,
phenomenon.
if I remember, you know, posting a clip on, like the first time I ever posted a clip on Facebook, it was like a 6-minute set.
Okay.
And at a Don't Tell comedy show before they were doing tapings.
Oh wow.
You know, and it was just like, it was very early on in that. And I got like a couple thousand views and like 500 likes or something.
That's
and I was
great.
like, oh my God.
It's on.
People love it. And now I'm like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
And also nobody's watching it. It's not nothing. It's still, if I got that on like an Instagram site, I'd still be happy. But,
I'm pretty happy about that.
You know, but nobody's watching 6-minute clips unless you're Chris Fleming.
Oh, we didn't get to talk about. I didn't talk about Chris Fleming.
I know. I feel like we went on so many tangents. There's so many things that we didn't even talk about.
We'll put a pin in it. He's in my influences. Yes. I love him. I don't think he can do anything wrong.
He's the best.
Yes. And I watch his crazy long clips.
He's so
uninterrupted.
So good.
Every time.
But yeah, I think we gotta wrap up. Thank you so much for doing the podcast, and we'll have to do another one. We got so sidetracked with brunch and other topics.
I'm full of opinions.
But yeah, Mia Wilson, everybody. Oh, do you have anything you want to plug for the listener?
Yeah, I would just say find me on social media. That's where I put all my dates. That's where I put all my stuff. It's Mia Wilson Comedy. And then that's that. YouTube is the same thing. So pretty much I'm on TikTok, I'm on Insta. It's all the same handle.
All right. Mia Wilson, everybody.
Thanks so much.